Tonight on Crime Stories, the steamy summer of 1985. All of Los Angeles lives in terror. He comes at night to any home in any neighborhood. He tortures, he rapes, he kills.
The guy is a stone-cold murderer.
He baffles the city's best cops.
We don't know when he's going to stop or if he's going to stop.
No one is safe from the Night Stalker.
This is Crime Stories. I'm Richard Belzer. Los Angeles, California, the summer of 1985. A killer stalks victims under cover of night, breaking into homes and murdering people seemingly at random. The killing spree has the entire city gripped with fear. No one is safe in the City of Angels. His name is synonymous with Satanism, torture, and murder. He is the Night Stalker.
Los Angeles, California, 1985. The city sweats through one of the hottest summers on record. But it isn't the heat that is on everyone's mind. For this summer, there is a killer on the loose. He comes by freeway, under cover of night, to any home in any neighborhood. No one is safe. For Los Angeles Sheriff's Detective Gil Carrillo, it starts on March 17th. Carrillo investigates a murder in the quiet suburb of Rosemead. That night, Maria Hernandez had been followed home. As her automatic garage door closes behind her, she hears a noise and realizes she is not alone.
She pleaded for her life. The light went out because she had activated the button to close the garage, and when the light went out, he then fired his gun. The bullet struck the key in her hand and never exited. She fell down as if she had been hit.
The gunman goes inside and finds Dale Okazaki. He shoots her once in the forehead with a .22 caliber pistol, killing her instantly. He exits through the front door, leaving behind a hat bearing the name of the heavy metal band AC/DC. To Carrillo, it is just another random murder. But a few days later, in a meeting of the homicide unit, Carrillo hears about another murder that happened the same night, just a few miles away. In Monterey Park, Veronica Yu was pulled from her car and shot twice.
We realized that that murder weapon that was used in that one was also the same caliber as the murder weapon that was used to kill Dale Okazaki and shoot and wound Maria Hernandez.
10 days later, March 27th, Carrillo learns of another murder in which a .22 is used. This time, it is in Whittier, and it is brutal. The intruder enters through a side window. Vincent Zazzara is killed with a single bullet to his head as he sleeps on his couch. His wife is raped and beaten. The attacker tries to remove her heart with a kitchen knife. When he fails that, he takes her eyes. He leaves a clue, a footprint. Little connects this murder to the others, but Carrillo has a hunch.
Geographically, at least, we're talking about 3 murders that have occurred by crow's flight within a 4-mile distance between them.
New York writer Philip Carlo would spend many hours with the man who would be accused of these crimes.
He was a loner. He didn't hang out with anybody. He didn't trust people. And he would just like speed from one town to another, from one city to another, listening to heavy metal music, it pumping him up with malicious intent.
Entirely a racially motivated.
The Sheriff's Homicide Division sets up an informal task force to look into the murders. One of the team members is a hero to Carrillo. In the late 1970s, Frank Salerno helped solve the infamous Hillside Strangler case, a spree of rapes and murders of 10 young women.
At no time did I ever think that it would lead us down the path that it finally did.
2 months later, May 14th, Carrillo and Salerno learn of another murder in Monterey Park. Once again, an intruder enters through a window under cover of darkness. William Doy is shot once in the head fatally. Emily Doy, an invalid, is immobilized with thumb cuffs, then beaten and raped. The house is ransacked and valuables taken. Carrillo goes to the scene, but local police, citing jurisdiction, stonewall him. He leaves frustrated. Only later would he learn of the footprint found in the garden. 2 weeks later, May 30th, Detectives Carrillo and Salerno are called to Monrovia. An attacker has entered the home of 2 elderly women, Mabel Bell and Florence Lang. The house is ransacked and the 2 women brutalized. They have been beaten with a hammer, tied up with electrical tape, tortured with electrical cords, and raped. The intruder has left the sign of Satan on the wall and on the women's bodies. Lang is in a coma. Bell is dead.
He believed the more vicious his attacks were, the more pleased Satan would be. He believed the more brutal he was, the more pleased Satan would be. And he felt that Satan would always protect him and he'd never get caught.
In his latest attack, the killer shows new confidence, using a variety of tools and taking time to eat.
What makes the killing easier is that there's a level of rehearsal. These guys are desensitized to the enormity of these acts, the deprivation. And after the first, second, third kill, they start to usually focus on technique.
Once again, he has left a clue.
A little alarm clock. The killer had apparently stood on the clock with his foot and tried to yank the cord out of it. And right in the back of the clock, there was this perfect imprint of the center of the shoe print. We assigned 2 investigators as the case developed just to do nothing more than find that shoe. And it was the footprint of the Avia model 440, size 11.5, 12.
It is a brand new model of sneaker. Only 1 pair in that size has been delivered to the Los Angeles area. This seems to connect the murders. But for Carrillo and Salerno, the other clues don't add up.
The thing that identifies serial killers is the fact that they do things in similar ways. In this case, we had someone that was, up to this point now, someone that had been using guns, and now he changes everything.
In June, there is an attempted break-in in the town of Pico Rivera. The intruder is scared away, but leaves his footprint near a window. This time, it's personal. The break-in is only blocks away from the home of Detective Carrillo's mother. Carrillo continues to push the task force.
This wasn't something they were concentrating on exclusively, and we were just waiting to see what happened.
At the end of June, their wait was over. June 27th, Patty Higgins is raped and murdered in Arcadia. Her throat so deeply slit that she is nearly decapitated. July 2nd, 77-year-old Mary Cannon is killed in the same town. Her throat also slit. Her attacker leaves Avia footprints. July 4th, 16-year-old Whitney Bennett is beaten in the head with a tire iron while she sleeps and choked with an electrical cord, but lives. A bloody Avia footprint is found on the blanket of her bed. July 7th, Joyce Nelson is kicked and beaten to death. An Avia footprint is found in her carpet. Another is left on her face. Hours later, Sophie Dickman is attacked in her home. She is handcuffed to her bed and beaten savagely. She survives. 5 attacks in little more than a week. The killer is on a rampage.
You have to understand something. We're talking about somebody who actually likes hurting people.
He's like a shark in a feeding frenzy. We don't know when he's going to stop or if he's going to stop.
When somebody cowered or when somebody act frightened, it actually turned him on. And it would drive him and propel him.
At that point, we had no way of stopping him. We had no idea who he was.
The killings continue, but cops get a break. When Crime Stories returns. July 1985. The heat in Los Angeles continues to build, and so does the tension. At least 9 people are dead, others beaten and raped. A serial killer is on the loose, and he has been confounding the city's best detectives.
Traditionally, serial murderers, they get in a pattern. They stay in that pattern. And here we had an individual that was changing weapons, changing how he killed, changing victims. It was sort of mind-boggling.
He left behind a confusing web of clues. A rare shoe print, knives, thumb cuffs, and bullets. And now, recent survivors begin to paint a portrait.
Stained and gapped teeth kept coming out, pungent odor about him, curly, disheveled hair.
By mid-July, word of the murders begins to leak to the press. David Freed covered the story for the Los Angeles Times.
The thing that was unnerving was that they were, in many instances, middle-class, ordinary homes.
Panic spreads quickly. People shut their windows on the hottest nights of the year. Sales of guns and home security systems skyrocket as the city waits for the next attack.
You had those thoughts. What if he selects me? What if he picks me out? What if he knows where I live?
He would find a block that looked good, and he would shut the lights. He'd coast a little bit, then he'd shut the car engine, and he would coast silently to a stop. If he got a feeling that it was okay, he would very, very slowly open the car door, slip out of the car, very slowly close the car door without making a sound. And then he'd walk down the block using shadows. And when he came to a house that he felt was right, he would try it. If the front door was closed, he would go to the front windows. If they were locked, he'd go to the side windows. If they were locked, he'd go to the back windows. He was very, very determined. And once he got inside, it was havoc.
July 20th, the killer strikes twice in one night. In Glendale, Max and Leela Needling are mutilated with a machete, then finished off with a .22 caliber pistol. Hours later in Sun Valley, the Kovaneth family is attacked. He is killed with a shot to the head. She is bound with electrical cords and raped for hours. But she lives and describes the attacker to a police artist.
You have to understand, the guy is a stone-cold murderer, and he's killing because he loves to kill. He loves to make people suffer. He loves to see people plead for their lives. He loves to draw blood from people. He would actually salivate at the thought of not only the violence, but the sex that would come in conjunction with the violence.
At this point, I'm working 7 days a week, as all the other detectives are that are working on his case.
We have to stop this man. We have to stop him because he's dangerous to the community, but he's dangerous to our own personal family lives.
Fearing for his family's safety, Detective Carrillo moves them out of the area.